My youngest sister, Raindrop, has accused me of SAing her when she was younger.
Perhaps one of the most personal struggles Noah faced was the emotional burden of growing up on television. While his family became famous for their wilderness lifestyle, Noah often seemed uncomfortable with fame. Being judged for his mannerisms, inventions, and personal choices left him feeling misunderstood. He admitted at times that fans only knew the edited version of him, not the full person. Combined with family disputes, financial confusion, and marital struggles, this created a heavy emotional toll. Unlike some of his siblings who embraced the spotlight, Noah appeared more introverted, seeking privacy and space. Yet fame doesn't easily allow that. Viewers expected him to stay part of the story, even when he wanted to retreat. This tension likely contributed to his decision to focus on quieter personal projects rather than chasing public recognition. At heart, Noah is not a celebrity chasing fame, but a man who grew up in unusual circumstances and tried to make sense of them. What he didn't want fans to know was probably just how lonely and frustrated he felt in balancing these two worlds, the image of the inventive wilderness son on TV and the reality of a private man with personal struggles and dreams. Much of Noah Brown's story cannot be understood without looking at his relationship with his father, Billy Brown. Billy was the driving force behind Alaskan Bush People. He was the one who convinced the family to live in the wilderness, who shaped their image as a self-reliant wolf pack, and who pushed them to embrace the television spotlight. For Noah, this relationship was both inspiring and challenging. On the one hand, he admired his father's strength, leadership, and determination to keep the family together. On the other, Billy's control over the family's decisions left Noah little room to grow independently. Billy often spoke on behalf of all his children, presenting them as one united group, but in reality, each sibling had different dreams and struggles. Noah, in particular, wanted to pursue his inventions and creative projects, but he often found himself limited by the family's collective image. Financially, Billy's control over the show's earnings also became a source of tension. After Billy's death in 2021, disputes arose over inheritance and who should benefit from the family's long years on television. For Noah, this was a painful reminder that his father's influence extended even beyond his lifetime. While Billy gave Noah opportunities by bringing him into the spotlight, he also created expectations that Noah struggled to meet. This complicated bond, one of love, respect, but also restriction, is another piece of Noah's story that he never openly discussed, but that shaped his life more than most viewers realized. With Billy gone and the family facing growing conflicts, Noah's future has started to look different. The once strong Alaskan Bush People brand has faded, and although Discovery aired later seasons, the dynamic of the show changed without Billy's leadership. For Noah, this shift created both challenges and opportunities. On the one hand, the loss of his father and the crumbling unity of the family left him feeling isolated. On the other hand, it gave him the freedom to finally step outside the shadow of the wolf pack. Today, Noah focuses on raising his children, experimenting with new inventions, and sharing pieces of his life on social media. He has shown interest in creating independent survival videos and teaching others how to live sustainably with simple tools. These small steps reveal a man trying to balance his unusual past with a more ordinary present. He no longer has to follow a script or fit into a role created for television. Instead, he is free to define himself on his own terms, as a father, inventor, and individual, not just a member of a reality TV family. This journey is still ongoing, and it is not without difficulties. Divorce, family disputes, and the weight of his past continue to follow him. But unlike before, Noah now has the power to choose how much of his life he shares with the public. In a way, the end of the show may be the beginning of Noah's real story, a story no longer shaped by cameras but by his own decisions and dreams. The Brown family from Alaskan Bush People fascinated millions of viewers with their wilderness lifestyle, survival skills, and unusual family traditions. Among them, Noah Brown stood out as the quiet, inventive son who always seemed to be thinking ahead. While his brothers focused on hunting, fishing, and building, Noah often appeared with unique tools and ideas to make life easier in the wild. Yet behind his calm personality and creative inventions, there were secrets and struggles that fans rarely saw on screen. The show presented him as a reserved but reliable figure, one who avoided drama while supporting his family. However, reality was far more complicated. Over the years, whispers about family conflicts, financial disputes, scripted moments, and personal struggles began to surface. Noah, though private by nature, could not hide from everything. His marriage, relationships with siblings, and frustrations about how the show operated eventually became public in ways he likely never wanted. These truths don't just affect how people view Noah, but also reshape how fans understand the entire Brown family story. To fully appreciate Noah's journey, we need to look beyond the cameras and into the quieter, hidden chapters of his life, chapters filled with both resilience and tension. Noah Brown was born on July 18, 1992, in Alaska, into a world very different from most people's experiences. His parents, Billy and Amy Brown, had chosen to raise their 7 children far away from modern cities, electricity, and conveniences. They believed in an off-grid lifestyle, where survival skills, family loyalty, and closeness to nature were more important than technology or comfort. For Noah, this meant growing up learning how to hunt, build, and survive in harsh conditions. But even from a young age, he was different from his siblings. While his brothers often competed to be the toughest in the wilderness, Noah showed signs of curiosity and invention. He enjoyed tinkering with objects, finding creative ways to solve problems, and creating tools that made survival more efficient. Fans of the show often noticed him designing clever fixes, such as a makeshift air conditioner from buckets and ice or homemade contraptions that solved everyday challenges in the bush. This inventive spirit made Noah both admired and misunderstood. Some saw him as a genius, while others thought his ideas were strange. Regardless, his unique perspective set him apart, giving him an identity as the inventor of the Brown family. But this role, while interesting for television, also came with pressure. Noah had to balance his desire for creativity with the expectations of surviving in the wild and living up to the image his parents built for the family. When Alaskan Bush People first aired on Discovery Channel in 2014, it promised viewers a rare glimpse into a family living entirely off the grid. The Browns were introduced as a wolf pack, surviving together in the forests of Alaska and later Washington state. Each family member had a role, and Noah's inventive personality gave the show a creative twist. The series quickly gained popularity because it offered something unusual, people surviving without modern luxuries. Audiences were fascinated by the Browns' rugged lifestyle, dramatic adventures, and family unity. For years, Noah and his siblings built cabins, hunted for food, and worked on projects in front of the cameras. But even in those early seasons, some viewers sensed that not everything was as natural as it seemed. There were claims that parts of the show were staged, that the family sometimes stayed in hotels, and that producers influenced certain events. Noah himself rarely addressed these rumors, but his quietness may have been a way to protect the family's image. As the show gained attention, Noah found himself in the public eye more than he expected. Unlike his father Billy, who enjoyed being the leader, Noah never seemed entirely comfortable with fame. He played his part, but often seemed distant, as though he was hiding a side of himself that didn't belong on television. This tension between the reality of their lifestyle and the production of the show became one of the many things Noah likely didn't want outsiders to know. One of the most personal chapters of Noah Brown's life was his relationship with Rain Alicia, a woman he met in Alaska in 2016. Their romance blossomed despite the challenges of living in the wilderness and dealing with his mother Amy's cancer diagnosis at the time. 2 years later, Noah proposed during a romantic hike, even designing the engagement ring himself, which reflected his inventive nature. The couple married in 2018 in a small ceremony in Idaho with close family present. For fans, it looked like a fairy tale love story. Over the years, Noah and Rain welcomed 2 sons, and for a while they seemed to represent stability in the Brown family. Yet cracks eventually appeared. By early 2025, Noah confirmed that he and Rain had separated. He openly admitted he was searching for a new place to live near Washington and was trying to adapt to co-parenting. This honesty surprised fans who were used to the Brown family keeping their private lives hidden. What led to their separation is not fully clear, but conflicts within the family and tensions between Rain and Noah's siblings likely played a role. Noah's openness about moving out revealed a vulnerable side he rarely showed before. It highlighted that, behind the inventive image on TV, he was dealing with the same heartbreak and struggles that many ordinary people face. This was likely one of the truths Noah never wanted the world to see, his family life unraveling in front of the public. Although Alaskan Bush, people showed the Browns as a united wolf pack, cracks in their relationships became impossible to ignore. Much of this conflict stayed off camera, but eventually surfaced through social media posts, interviews, and legal issues. The most notable was with Noah's older brother Matt, who left the show in 2016 amid personal struggles with alcohol dependence. Matt later claimed he felt excluded and unsupported by the family, and he also faced serious accusations outside the show. Other siblings faced drama too. Bear was arrested in 2022 for domestic violence charges, though he later denied the accusations. Disputes also erupted about money after Billy Brown's death in 2021. Since Billy controlled most of the earnings from the show, his passing led to confusion, legal battles, and bitterness among family members. Noah himself was caught in tensions, particularly with his sister, Rain. At one point, Noah claimed she threatened him and even sought a restraining order, though it was not granted. These conflicts painted a very different picture than the happy wilderness family presented on television. For Noah, who always valued privacy, having these disputes spill into the public eye was deeply uncomfortable. It showed that behind the image of a strong, united family, there were unresolved arguments and fractures that Noah likely hoped would stay hidden. One of the biggest controversies surrounding Alaskan Bush People is whether the show was entirely real. From the beginning, critics argued that many parts were staged, exaggerated, or carefully edited for drama. Reports surfaced that the Browns sometimes stayed in hotels or used modern tools off camera. Some fans felt betrayed, believing the show sold them a fantasy rather than the full truth. For Noah, this likely created a difficult situation. As someone who genuinely enjoyed building and inventing, he may have felt frustrated that his real efforts were overshadowed by staged scenes. Yet he remained mostly quiet, avoiding direct confrontation with the rumors. This silence may have been part of protecting the family's brand, but also contributed to misunderstandings about who he truly was. While some fans still loved the show regardless of authenticity, others questioned every storyline. The truth is, reality TV is rarely pure reality. It often blends fact with entertainment. For Noah, this blending meant his identity as the inventive son was shaped not only by who he was, but also by what producers wanted viewers to see. That gap between reality and portrayal may be one of the biggest things Noah never wanted people to fully understand. Beyond the show, Noah devoted time to personal projects that reflected his inventive spirit. He built homemade machines, water filters, and solar-powered systems using scrap materials. He shared some of these creations online, showing fans that his inventive side was genuine, not just for television. He also explored video production, creating short clips of his inventions and even considering his own survival-focused show one day. These off-camera activities revealed Noah's desire to step out of the family shadow and build an identity of his own. They also highlighted his long-term goal of creating a better future for his children, even if his marriage had ended. Despite the family drama and public struggles, Noah remained focused on practical projects that could help people live off the grid. Some saw him as brilliant, others thought he was eccentric, but he kept moving forward. This side of Noah showed a resilience that contrasted with the chaos of his family life. However, he didn't advertise these efforts loudly, which means many fans never realized how much work he was putting into shaping his own path. This quieter pursuit of independence is another truth he likely preferred to keep private, an identity outside of the wolf pack that only a few have truly seen.